here to celebrate their Italian magic of 35 years ago, joining Mick, Niall, Ray and Andy. It is Packie Bonner, Kevin Sheedy, Chris Morris, Steve Staunton, Kevin Warren, Ronnie Whelan, Chris Hyton, Bernie Slavin, Frank Stapleton and David Kelly. Packie. Oh, yeah. Guys, that's what it means to us, Packie. Let's get down to the sharp end here. Let's talk penalties.
Oh, my word.
You
know all about them. You were the goalkeeper at one time, too.
Well, I was a goalkeeper, but to be honest with you, my penalty technique was like this. So, you know, yours, of course, is one of the greatest Irish sporting moments, one of the greatest saves of that World Cup. What are your memories of that night in Genoa?
Well, I remember a few things because I think just before the penalty shootout, I remember up in the circle and I went to Kevin Sheedy, who's here with us, and I said to Kevin, I says, are you taking the penalty? And he says, yes. And he says, I'm going to hit it straight down the middle. And if you look back at the penalty, that's exactly what Kevin did. And you also remember the referee, he kept getting everybody to pull their socks up. So those things are really stuck in my mind. Everybody had to have their socks up before they went down. But from my perspective then, having to go down, stand at the side of the pitch, watching these brave guys come down to hit the penalty, it was incredible. And they set it up, obviously, for me at the end. I went the right way for a few, for most of them. And then the moment came.
The moment came. Here we are. Let's have a look at this, Packie.
Timote against Bonner. Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree.
They're all saying they'd all save it.
Yeah. It was the easiest penalty save ever, guys. The perfect height, no pace on the ball. And you didn't, you know, in penalty shootouts, you don't have to catch it, you don't have to knock it away for a corner, you just got to keep it out of the net. And that was easy.
Ray, you also scored. You also scored a penalty. Can you tell us how many penalties you'd actually taken before that moment? None.
Zero. And when people say that you've got to practice penalties, it just shows you that's not quite true. I had an OK game, but we were really struggling to get 5 penalty takers. We were actually in the circle. Jack came over, and I think his words were, when we were having a talk about it earlier, I thought his words were, you got yourself into this mess, now get yourselves out of it, and walked away. So we couldn't find 5 penalty takers, so the two that put their hands up was Kevin and Andy. Kevin had taken for Everton, Andy at Southampton and Norwich. I'd never taken one before, but I thought, why not? I'll put my hand up. And then we were struggling for the other two, and eventually we cajoled Tony Cascarino into taking one, and then David O'Leary put his hands up. And I remember Jack sitting on the bench thinking, well, that's the end of that then. Because that line-up doesn't look particularly good, but it's just amazing what happens.
What's your memories of that, Kevin and Andy?
I knew as soon as the final whistle had gone from extra time, I'd taken penalties, you know, throughout my career, so I was confident I could score. I didn't want to leave my penalty to the last, because sometimes it happens and then you don't get that far to take a penalty. The whistle went, and it was about 20 minutes before you actually get to take the kick, so you've got to get in the zone, you've got to get your mindset right. And as Packie said, I've taken penalties. Hit it as clean as you can, don't change your mind, and pick your spot. And I picked the spot right down the middle, high up, to miss the goalkeeper's legs, and a bit of pressure, but through experience you learn to deal with it, and it was a great relief to see it hit the back of the net.
You know, what was funny, Paddy, about it was, if you think nowadays, all these, the psychology involved in football now about preparing you for a penalty shootout. So, as Ray just said, we've kind of sort of come up with it ourselves. And whilst all this is going on, Jack's walking around, and he come up to me and he said, Andy, what are you going to do with it? And I said, I'm going to place it don't bloody place it. He said, thump the thing. And now you're not supposed to make anyone change their mind, or that's the worst thing that can happen. And here's Jack telling me, don't do what I want to do something else, So thankfully I ignored him and just done what I was going to do. But that's, again, that just goes to show back in the day, did we really practice some, like the boys just said? Quinny used to go in goal.
When he went into goals, he would take my gloves and he would go into goals, and the boys were practicing against him.
For a fiver.
And that's what... for a fiver.
And you never paid me, lads.
Exactly.
Well, I don't know whether David Leary was practicing or not. Dave can't be here, but he definitely is in this moment. This is the moment where a nation held its breath and he got the job done.
The nation holds its breath. Yes, we're there! To the quarterfinals of the World Cup, and a meeting with Italy or Uruguay in Rome on Saturday night.
Jump up on top of me because he was too small. He was trying to jump up, and he was going like this when the huddle came.
Chris Heaton, by the time you got to that 90 World Cup, you would have been a veteran of this squad.
Old, you mean?
Well, I mean, we were sort of edging that. We were edging that way. What was so special about this group?
I was asked this question this morning, and I think about the spirit in the group. It's always been there. From the time I made my debut, Johnny Joles was the manager, and I walked into a group of players, most playing in England, some born in Ireland, some qualifying through parentage and so, but that spirit was instant. It might have had something to do with the nights out afterwards as well. Looking forward to joining the group, but that spirit was always there. And of course, what developed over a time was a way of winning. And I think when you align the two, spirit, really good players, and a winning mentality, then you've got most things that you want in a football team.
Kevin Moran, up the back there. Kevin, I mean, you played for the Dubs, you played for Man United. What was different about these boys?
I think what Chris touched upon was the camaraderie. The camaraderie was unbelievable. And, we pulled together so much. We were given so much freedom, which you would never get today. I think that was one of the main reasons. The guys used to play their game on a Saturday. They'd be on the first flight over for Saturday night to make sure that we had a good night Saturday night, but they'd take it easy enough because Sunday was the big night. The whole idea of even thinking about that is just bizarre, and yet we'd go out on a Wednesday and perform as if we were the best thorough professionals you'd ever come across.
I mean, we were talking about, relaxing and the game with the penny and all that sort of stuff, but tell us about the Guinness. Tell us about the Guinness before the quarter-final, Ray.
Well, what happened was Guinness had flown in barrels into a courtyard. And I was in the courtyard and Jack said, "What do you think of my bar?" And I said, it looks really nice. I said, "Lovely." He said, "Would you fancy a pint?" I said, don't say if you don't mean it. But I said, "We've not had a drink." I said, "And the lads would love to have a couple of pints." And he said, "Well, tell them they can have 2 pints, or you can have 4 halves, 2 pints, 4 halves." So the nearest room to the courtyard was Ronnie Whelan's. So I'm shouting up at the window, "Ronnie, Ronnie!" And Ronnie opened the window. And I said, "Ronnie, Jack said we can have a couple of pints." I won't say exactly what he said because the language was a little bit off. We went along the lines, "Shut up, Ray." He doesn't shut the window. "Ronnie, Ronnie," opens the window. I said, "I'm not joking." Well, all you could hear was all the lads come steaming down the stairs. We're all out in this courtyard. We had probably a little bit more than 2 pints or 4 halves, but we had the best laugh. But what came from that, Paddy, was the simple thing, was that Jack understood that we were nervous, that we were edgy before this quarter-finals, and he found a way to get us together just to make us feel a little bit calm and get us ready and prepared for the upcoming game against Italy.
I mean, Ronnie, he didn't mind a pint, but I believe, in his words, wives were trouble. Is that right?
It seemed to be. Yeah, they are, aren't they? No, we didn't like all the wives there, especially at the start of the... He felt they were sort of interfered in.
You're digging, by
I know I am.
You're not getting out of this.
No,
You're not-
we all wanted the wives there, but Jack wouldn't let us.
Steve, I mean, you only player to feature in all 13 World Cup games for Ireland. What was that like? Was 90 was that the highlight for you?
It was one of them, but after experience 88 with the squad and not getting picked to go, I went up to Dundalk with my brothers and watched the game up there, or games, and experienced what the country was going through in 88. So when 90 came round, and I was telling the lads, you don't believe what's going on in the country or what's not going on, because it came to a standstill, 88, and 90, I can only imagine, was worse. First World Cup, I mean, look, it was a great time to be part of this great squad, and I was very fortunate to be, involved in it. So many happy times and memories.
Well, speaking of many happy times and many memories, Kevin, obviously we don't want to dwell on this too much, but you scored against England in that World Cup. Can you talk us through that? Look at this. Look at that pick there. The poise, the balance, the man, the myth, the legend. Look at that. Talk us through scoring that goal.
Well, people have asked me over the years, what's the best goal you've ever scored? And I say the goal against England in the World Cup, not because it was my best goal, it's the most lucrative goal I've ever scored. Wherever I go in the world, I go into an Irish bar, I get a free pint of Guinness.
Very good. You have to tell us. You got to tell us about Doc O'Driscoll and the tablets, and if you had taken them, you mightn't have been playing anywhere.
I might have dropped you in this one, Sheets. Okay, they were asking me. Do you remember he gave you tablets and said, "Have you taken them tablets?" And you went, "No." He went, "Thank God they're banned." Do you remember that? Do you remember that?
That sounds about right.
That's right. Yeah, I should have tipped you off for that one. Sorry. Yeah, true story.
Niall, we're not only missing Jack tonight. I know you guys are all feeling it. Alan McLaughlin sadly left us too soon. What are your memories of Alan?
Well, I first came across Alan trying to get into the squad for 90, playing for Ireland B against England B down in Cork. And I think many of us who played that day, who went on the trip, kind of earned our ticket because we gave England a good hiding that day. And Alan McLaughlin played really well. But he wasn't really involved with the senior squad. And then we made our way out. It looked as if Gary Waddock was in the squad. He had his blazer, his flannels. We all sort of did our photo shoot before we went up to the airport to head off to the World Cup. The Taoiseach said goodbye to us. Gary Waddock played the two friendlies, and we all thought that's it. We're getting to Rome to play the game. And I'll never forget being at where we pick our bags up at the airport, and Jack called Gary Waddock to one side, and this will tell you how ruthless Jack was. Gary's wife was actually on the way over to fly and be at the tournament. And we thought something had happened at home because Gary was really cross. He stormed off. And we said, what's wrong there? And we went outside, and Alan was outside, and he went, "Hi, I'm Alan," because he'd never met some of the senior players.
Wow.
And I knew him, and I sat with him. And I think it was difficult for him because he felt one of the lads, that we were feeling pain for him, and he was the culprit. But very quickly, he came into the squad. He came on as sub, I think, in the second game, and made his mark, and would make his mark in time, of course, the biggest one of all, in November '93, to get us to the World Cup in '94. He became an integral part of it. But that's what this group was always like. You were brought in, and you were made feel special. And we've brilliant memories of him. And of course, yes, he's taken weight. And the saddest thing about this event is that he's not here. This group, everyone will speak about its camaraderie, but he's just an exceptional guy, Patrick, and he did his job for Ireland better, as good as anyone was ever asked to.
Another exceptional man who is here tonight is the Italia 90 kit man, 101 years young, Charlie O'Leary. What are your memories of Jack?
Wonderful, wonderful memories. A marvellous man altogether. The thing that we hate talking about, he hated giving out or paying out money. For instance, the famous story about him is, do you know the English coin? I think it's a 50-pence coin or so. He let one fall one day, and on the way down, it hit him on the back of the neck.
I also know, Charlie. I also know that you helped these guys out whenever they were maybe locked up in hotels and they maybe wanted to escape. Had you anything to do with that?
Well, that's not nice, because they were all every one of them reminded themselves going out. They were married men. The memories often faded after that. But anyway.
Charlie, thank you very much. Charlie.
I would always make sure when we arrived at a new hotel, when we were playing away, that I found out where the alarm was, and I knocked it off till about 2 in the morning, and then about 2 in the morning I got up and put it back on again.
When the boys were back in?
Well, they were well back in by that time.
Lovely. Charlie, thank you so much. Mick, we know it all ended when Toto Schillaci scored that goal in the quarter-final. What was it like being in that stadium? The dream had ended, but the fans didn't want to believe it, did they?
No, and rightfully so. We'd played ever so well against them, and we got to the quarter-final. I mean, coming out of the dressing room, going into the tunnel, I mean, it was an amazing feeling, thinking about you're in the quarter-final of a World Cup. And then, God bless him as well, Toto Schillaci. I mean, I didn't say that at the time, of course. I think I was cursing him a little bit. We'd had a bit of a run-in. I gave him a black eye and he scored the winner. I think he won out on that, to be fair.
We got a little clip here of Jack. This is Jack after that game. Like, that's how many fans were still in the stadium. Nobody wanted to go home. It was such an amazing summer that you guys gave us. And can I just say tonight, it has put flesh in my bones to see you all here and to be reminiscing about an amazing summer of sport. Thank you so much to everybody.